In the previous videos, we went over the history of psychology, different schools and perspectives that psychologists may take, and also different research methods and design. In the new series of videos, we will talk about neuroscience and behavior. First, let's talk about neurons. Neurons are what made up of our nervous system. There are billions of neurons and thousands of different types that specializes in different functions. For example, sensory neurons is important in responding in stimuli like touch, sound, and light, and then it will send the signal to our brain. Now that we know what neurons are, let's cover the components of the neuron. So neurons are composed of three different parts: the dendrites like the branches, the soma, which is the cell body, and the axon. So the dendrites will receive information from other neurons, and then it will transmit that information to the cell body, or what we call the soma. The soma is the largest part of the neuron that helps coordinate information processing, and it's important in keeping the cell alive. And finally, the axon can help transmit information to other places like muscles and glands. When you see closely at the axon, you may find that it is covered by a fatty material called the myelin sheath. So the myelin can help fasten the process of transmitting signals to other neurons. It is made out of glial cells which can digest dead neurons and form more myelin. In some disorders like multiple sclerosis, it is when a person's immune system will attack the myelin sheath, which can cause inflammation and injury, and other problems like vision problems and walking difficulties. So this will slow down the whole transmission process. Here's a diagram showing the difference between a normal nerve cell and a nerve cell with multiple sclerosis. So you can see that the myelin is damaged on the right side. And finally, for the scope of this course, the last component that we will cover will be the synapse. So it is a gap between two neurons and where information is passed from one neuron to the next one. Here is a closer look at the synapse. So the vesicle is a package of chemicals called neurotransmitters. So they can influence our emotions and mental health, such as dopamine, serotonin, and other types that psychiatric medicines may target these. So these vesicles are released from the presynaptic terminal buttons and then travel through the synapse and then bind to the receptor on the postsynaptic spine. As we have covered before, neurons have different functions, but there are three major types of neurons. So the first one is sensory neurons that can help receive information from the outside world. So it is responsible for major senses such as touch and pain, and it is also critical for letting our body know about the environment around us. So it will convey information to the brain via the spinal cord. And then there is another type called interneurons. It can help connect sensory and motor neurons. And finally, for the motor neurons, it can help us produce movement and connect signals to the spinal cord and then to help our muscles produce movement. Now, let me show you what is involved in a reflex from a candle. So here is a candle. And then to produce movement, the sensory neuron will receive the burning sense from the candle and then will convey this information to the brain through the spinal cord. And then the interneuron will connect this sensory information and our motor neuron to help produce a reflex movement. So what may seem like a simple and quick process, there are actually a lot of different neurons involved. So this video talked about the basic parts of a neuron. In our next video, we will talk about the action potential, so how one cell communicates with the other.